Hi, this is Coach World TV, and I'm Laurie Lawson. Tonight, my guest is Jan Mundo. Hey, Jan Mundo.
Hey, Laurie Lawson. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Jan is a headache coach, and I have been seeing her. She has some very interesting blogs and articles and things, and I've been seeing this for a long time, and I'm so glad I got the opportunity to have her on Coach Chat Radio, and we just killed her with questions. So we're going to do it again tonight. But first, tell us, what is a headache coach? I'm sure you don't dispense Tylenol and go rest and stay in the dark. What is a headache coach?
Okay, well, a headache coach is a term actually that I made up because I coach people with headaches.
Sounds right to me, I don't know.
I began doing it, actually, I know I'm ancient, but in 1970, I figured out a way to put my hands on somebody's head and actually feel the sensations of their headache and be able to quell those sensations, which also equaled stopping the pain.
Wow. Now, how similar is this to acupressure? Is there any similarity, or is this a gift that you have, or can anybody just go, "Ooh, I feel the sensation," or is that a Jan Mundo special? I suspect it might be. Yes.
Well, you know, I actually didn't know at the time what it was. I practiced for 21 years, just for the heck of it, for fun, and became, I guess, a headache magnet. So wherever I went, whether it was...
Not your own headaches, I hope. Yeah.
Well, my own headaches too. But wherever I went, whether it was at a makeup counter, shopping, grocery store, wherever I was, somebody at a party, family gathering, somebody would exclaim that they had a bad headache, they were going home, or it was just kind of blurted out in my presence. And so I'd say, well, I'll fix your headache. And so I would, and got lots of practice over about 21 years. And then I decided to do it for my profession. And I became a certified massage therapist, and then went deeper and deeper into the process as I began working with people and began...
Now tell me why you chose that path. Would that be the first thing you would think would work, the massage part of it? You wanted to get a whole... Is it a head massage, or is it you did the whole body massage thing? I've never heard of a head masseuse, but that doesn't mean they don't exist.
Well, what I do is, I work with the sensations of the headache. So the sensations of when somebody feels pain on the inside, I can feel that pain as sensation on their head. And so it might feel like pulsations, their head might feel tight, their head might feel kind of jittery. There are all different sensations that you can actually feel on the head in when somebody's having a headache.
Now, is that you, or is there a training that could actually help people realize that, or is that just you because you have a special touch?
Well, actually, I found out that anybody can do it. At least the people that I've trained. I wasn't
nice
sure.
Of her to admit that. Yeah, she could have said, "No, I can. I'm the only person in the world that can do this."
Well, I wanted to find out because I thought that if I could teach patients or clients how to work on themselves, that would be the most useful.
Oh, heavenly! Yeah.
So I. After practicing for 21 years and becoming a certified massage therapist, I wrote down instructions and gave them to people who, I deconstructed what I had been feeling on the head, and I created instructions from that. And then I gave them to people who had long-time history of migraine to see if they could work on themselves. And with very little instruction, actually, they were able to quell a migraine. They were able to back one down from escalating completely, or they were able to keep it from escalating at all.
That's amazing.
And so then I began getting my first few referrals from a neurologist at UCLA when I lived in California at the time. And then I realized when she said that, well, you can stop that particular headache, which is pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a migraine. She said, well, you weren't able to keep them from coming back, which I knew because I was only doing a touch method on the head itself. I wasn't doing anything to prevent them from coming back.
Okay, so you originally started with just like curing a headache, so to speak, or quelling it, or
Yes.
And then you advance.
And
Got
then,
it. I
well,
like
what
that.
would happen was anytime I had somebody in for a session, more and more things would come up. And then I did also a lot of reading about the causes and triggers of headache. And so I put together a program, and then I also train in a lot of things. So meditation, breath work, postural centering. But really the bigger part of the work was in body-centered therapy and then somatic coaching. Because when people would come into my practice, as they started to unwind their headaches, also things about their history, their past, past illnesses, chronic pain, chronic illness, past traumas. Lots of things would come up. And then also just simple things of how they use their body at work, how they use their body going about simple daily activities, what they're eating and drinking and when. So I put together a program that I then called the Mundo program that is part of what I coach people to do, so that it's really body, mind, self-care.
Well, tell us a little bit about what can create headaches. I was telling Jen, every time I have a headache, I blame it on my cheap reader glasses. It's like, okay, I need to get new glasses. What are some of the things that can trigger a headache? Because I think you kind of touched on them, but you also told me a few things that it would have never occurred to me that this could, like a backpack, a kid's backpack at school and things like that. So just what are some of the things that are triggering headaches?
Okay, so can we start with you?
All right, I'll play.
So
just get me on air, why don't you?
So, well, you brought it up.
Yes,
so
I did.
We talked about your glasses, and I noticed when you talked about that your brow.
I have these two things here, and she doesn't. I love that.
I got him. Was deeply furrowed, though, when you started to talk about it, like you were actually mocking up to me exactly what was happening.
How I was concentrating.
And so, but that can happen for people, and that happens more in tension-type headaches when actually you're bringing tension into your forehead, and so you're kind of pinching it together. And so maybe you pinch it together when you're thinking hard about something, or you're trying to see, because maybe you do need glasses, or maybe somebody's prescription, maybe in some cases would have, they need an update, right? So that tightness can become a habit. We can just be wanting to see something, or squinting, or trying to see into the computer and getting closer and closer. And so that's one way that you can embody the tension without realizing it, because you're just going about doing what you're doing.
Right.
But then over time, you're actually holding your forehead that way, and that creates tightness, and that can lead up to a headache. So it could be a tension headache, or it could be part of a migraine. So, and then you mentioned about kids' backpacks, so that brings us then into how postural misalignment, or just basically bad postural habits can cause headaches or migraines. And how that can happen is there are a few ways that I see typically how people carry themselves.
She did a perfect example of how I work on my computer, because I have something under my desk and I put my feet up and I sit like this. And she goes, well, don't you realize your head's going forward? And it's like, oh, yeah, I guess.
Right. So, well, think of when some people work at their desk, they work in a big executive chair, kind of like an easy chair. Yeah. Right, and so they're leaning back because that feels comfortable. So, oh good, I'm leaning back, I'm relaxing. But then in order to do that, and your body not fall over backwards, or the chair fall over backwards, you have to bring and be able to see into the computer, you bring your head forward. So your body's leaning back, say at maybe 35-degree angle, and then your head has to come forward to see. Well, what happens then is that your shoulders, which are not made to do all that work because your head's pretty heavy, are having to contract and hold your head in a position that is not meant to be in. Or, you can be in that position, but it just makes your shoulders tight. So then people, without really doing a workout or anything, end up tight and sore after a day's work, because basically their posture is out of alignment.
Tell us about the kid with the backpack.
So
that was fascinating.
Okay, well, it's the same kind of idea that kids today, maybe they'll be replaced by electronic books, I think,
Very
in the
shortly.
near future, I hope, as far as their posture. But, carrying around, 25 pounds of books, big backpack all day. So it's pulling them backward. In order to not fall backward, they have to pull forward. It's almost like the mimes that are, kind of trying to push against the wind. So there they are, the backpack's pulling them back, and they have to do this and strain forward. So here, if you can see that my neck gets tight, and then my shoulders, and kind of you're straining the whole time you're walking forward. So it's another way that people's posture can kind of lead up to headaches. And then another thing that we do is lean forward to see into the computer. And so then this gets crooked, the back of the neck gets crooked, and then my shoulders are kind of up. So the way that, do you want to see how we can unwind that?
I think we all would, yes.
So there's a way to unwind that, which we do have a desk here, and
so you have to pretend you can see what
everything.
Our feet are doing, yes.
Right. But what you want to do when you're sitting, so this is computer, desk, car.
Car,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people sit in their car like this as well. And
my car seat goes back so ridiculously far that I'd never be able to see how to drive. It's like I'd have to drive and I have short legs, so I couldn't reach the gas anyway. But yeah, I didn't even think of the car, but of course, that's another
desk,
one.
Yeah. So what you want to do is be able to use gravity to help you as opposed to hurting you. And so how it can help you is if your body is stacked in alignment. So when I say stacked,
I wish I could say that, but yes.
When I say that, I mean that as if you dropped a plumb line, like a straight line, straight through your body.
What the heck is a plumb line?
Right.
Well, and you said.
I think carpenters use them in their a weighted line, and it just goes vertical with gravity.
It's straight, and it just
So you want to be able to let your body be held in gravity in that same way, so that you're not putting any force or strain on it in a way that's going to hurt you.
So you should stack your body. Now, tell us how to stack our bodies.
Okay, so this is how you sit in a chair. Okay, you want to
trying to sit straight
with
now
your
because
feet.
I know she's watching me. Yes.
Start with your feet.
Okay.
And just be able to feel your feet on the floor. Now, if you're shorter or the chair is taller, then sometimes you have to scoot up in the chair in order to really get good contact.
But your feet
with
should
the
be
floor.
flat.
Yeah, they should be flat and have your feet parallel, and then your knees and your feet about hip distance apart, so that there can be a direct line from your hips down through your thighs, knees, legs, and feet all the way to the floor.
Okay.
So you want to feel that pressure. So I'm going to scoot this chair back a little bit so that I can sit.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm still up here.
Good.
Okay. So now I can really feel my feet on the floor.
Me too, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then coming up, I can feel my seat in the seat, right? Like I can feel the weight of my body in the seat.
Oh, see, I was leaning forward, but now I'm not. Okay, good.
Okay. So
it's so you do so many things unconsciously. It's amazing. It's like, okay, now I'm sitting right.
Okay. Then you want to have your so this is all done so that actually your weight can drop down into the floor, so that you're not holding yourself up, and that you can use gravity to let your weight down as opposed to holding it up or just having your feet dangle and kind of then having everything held up high. So you want to let your weight drop down. All right, so feeling your feet, feeling your seat. And then you want to align your ear and your shoulder and your hips.
With your butt.
So they're, the side of your hip.
Okay.
So if I did it on you, so if I just touch your ear, your shoulder, and then your hip, it gives you a sense of a vertical line. And you look pretty vertical to me.
Oh, okay. Good.
So and then you can, type from there, you can drive from there, And so when people first do this, if they're not used to sitting up straight, and when I say sitting up straight, I don't mean sitting up like this. The whole idea is that you can let your weight drop, and then also it helps you breathe.
Talk to us about breathing.
Okay, so I'll talk to you about breathing. There was something else I started to say, but I forgot what it was.
It'll come back.
Okay, so this all helps with breathing. Oh, what I was saying is that a lot of times it will feel unnatural. People will say, "Oh, I'm sitting up straight. This feels so odd," or
I
"This
feel
hurts,"
tall.
or that hurts.
It's like, and I never feel tall because I'm
Hey,
not.
hey.
But it's kind of cool,
That's
yeah.
great. So,
Oh.
so you're feeling your length.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it really does elevate you to a certain
That's
degree.
cool,
Yeah.
So,
And it allows us to breathe.
It allows
And we
us
know
to
how
breathe.
important breathing is, but she's got a trick on breathing too. Tell us that.
well, one thing that you want to do is a lot of times people say, "Okay, breathe more deeply." So, if I were to say to you and to people who are watching, take a deep breath.
See, now I would think I'm doing it right because I went all the way to my stomach, but
Well, first of
found
all,
out I'm not.
first of all, you're breathing, so that can't be a bad thing. So
Right.
that's right.
I've got 1 point.
Okay, so you got one. But when you did that, what happened was you took a breath way up high, and so then what
So I
happens when people
expanded
do
here
that?
and then pushed it
expand,
down.
expand there.
Okay.
But what that also does is that engages the neck muscles and the shoulder muscles, which is the ones that we're trying to soften,
Yeah.
and that people tend to hold up high when they hold their breath or they breathe shallowly. So then you're breathing shallowly, and then you have to take more breaths because you're
Right,
not getting
right.
so much oxygen each time. So one way to not engage the upper body muscles and make them contract and be tight and get a fuller breath is to actually, instead of thinking breathe more deeply, think of breathing lower in your body.
Just lower. Just take
Lower.
it in and don't do that. Just, yeah.
Well, think about bringing it into your belly. And so one way you can do that is put one hand on your belly, which you
Right.
can't see, but
Thank
you can
heavens.
still do it, and put the hand below your waistband so that it's in the part where your belly's rounded out. And if you can just, when you inhale, imagine that you're blowing up a balloon and let your belly round out when you inhale.
Okay, that's kind of fun.
So let's try it.
Breathing lessons, I like it.
Breathing lessons.
But I think what I would consciously have to do would be just not to take it in up here and then push it down, because I have a tendency to know I'm supposed to belly breathe, go deep, but I never realized I was, taking it in at my shoulders. That's
Right.
just, so what do you do? Is it a constant practice? Is it making people conscious and then whipping them
is.
into shape, or what?
Well, I leave the whips out of it. But
Oh, good.
it is a practice. So one of the reasons that I'm going to swing back around to this is that when people start breathing actually in a way that serves them better, a lot of times they feel that it's unnatural, or when they're sitting up straight, they're like, this is weird, or something starts hurting because they haven't built those muscles, not
Oh,
used
yeah,
to
sure.
breathing that way. So we're always practicing something. So if I spend a lot of time breathing like this, I'm going to have kind of shallow breath, and it's going to be hard to get a lot of energy. Or if I spend a lot of time breathing like this, that's going to, make it so that I'm tight here, and the breath will be more shallow. That's going to feel natural to me. So when I start to shift it, it's going to be new. So you have to consciously do it at first, and then over time it becomes embodied. Just like
Habit,
you're
just, yeah.
riding a bike. At first it's like, you can't do it, and you're coordinating, and you're thinking about every little move, and the pedals, and then then coordinating the handlebars, and steering, and the brakes. And then once you have done it over and over and over again, it's just second nature. You don't think about it, and then you're talking, and you're drinking your water when you're riding, and you're looking at the sights, and
Your feet are on the floor, which is so. Is it a good rule of thumb to always think of the plumb line and just really try to have your body work with the gravity as opposed to against it? I guess because the examples you were giving were really kind of fighting gravity. It's like we're pulling away from it, or we're
Yeah, absolutely.
So just always keep the plumb line. Now I know a new word, the plumb line, and stack it. I like that. Stack your body.
Stack your body. It's always changing, that's a really good rule of thumb to come back to.
Yeah.
And you'll find as much as you've practiced, and it could be years, that when you're in a stressful situation, you'll find yourself in the old way. It's just that happens. But what also happens is that your recovery time can happen more quickly.
Oh, that's good.
Because you'll catch yourself and you go, oh, there I am again, or there I am again. You go, okay, and then you kind of recenter.
3
And so
inches
it's a
shorter,
practice,
yeah.
and then it over time it becomes automatic. So that's one way that I work with people who have headaches. It's like kind of a basic introductory way. And so there's breathing and some other breathing practices, some lying down breathing practices and that are coupled with movement. Also, we work a lot with the body-mind connection and how your thoughts then make tension in your body, and how by meditating and doing other things that bring you into a more neutral mind, that your body is going to be much quieter and less reactive. And I also work with diet, what and when people eat and drink. And
it would be like I see people going, oh, I can't drink red wine, it gives me a headache. And it's like, then don't drink red wine. Is it that simple?
Some of it is, absolutely. But I love red wine. No, you can't have it.
No.
So sometimes people just aren't willing to give up what might be hurting them, but sometimes they just don't know. I mean, sometimes it's just very simple combinations of things. Sometimes it's a little more intricate.
And how would food, I know you're not a medical doctor, but how would food trigger a headache? Just a reaction to whatever is not agreeing with your body? Is that, and it would be tension? Or?
Well, there's certain foods that do create, that have certain additives or certain things in their makeup that, like wine, for instance, has tannins and different parts of just the creation of making wine, and plus the alcohol that just is part of a lot of people's migraine triggers. The exact mechanism of migraine has been under study and research and up for debate for years.
That's why I think it's so amazing that you found a way that can tamp it or, make it go away faster. It's like this has been researched forever, and I don't think they've ever really pinpointed, okay, don't do this and this, and you won't ever have a migraine again. So it's what you're doing is so valuable.
Thank you.
You will.
Well, there's certain things that are known, and there are certain theories about what trigger migraines, and some of it has to do with blood flow. Now they're moving more and more to biochemical research and what that might be. Pointing to in bioelectrical, which is, I think, more what's happening when I work on somebody's head. But, really, there are known things. I mean, some people just are sensitive to certain foods. Some people can't have chocolate, for instance, or are sensitive to chemicals. Like, for me, MSG, lethal. I just cannot, or wine and alcohol. I just don't know. For me, chocolate's fine. For some people, dairy. For other people, wheat. So I don't really, except for the chemicals or things that are really known triggers for a particular person or in general, I don't tell people, okay, cut out all these foods. It's really more like I get them journaling, not just about their headaches, but about their whole day, and what they eat and drink, and the stressors and different activities that they had, and how they use their body, and how much water and all that. And then you start to deconstruct it, so that I believe in people being able to enjoy life, have as much, have the foods that they enjoy if they're not the ones that are causing their migraines. And so I have this theory that I call a Chinese menu theory of headache. I haven't told you about that.
No, you haven't.
And it's more about a migraine. So when I was a kid, we used to go to a restaurant for Chinese food on Sunday night. And you could order a dish from column A, this family style, right? Column A, column B, column C, and then that would make up your meal. Well, instead of ordering our Chinese dinner, if you ordered somebody's migraine, and instead of ordering Chinese food dishes to make up their migraine, you ordered potential triggers. You could choose a potential trigger from column A. Let's say not eating enough protein may or may not get a migraine. You could choose one from column B, being under stress, may or may not get a migraine. Choose a trigger from column D, tight upper body, okay, like just tight shoulders, neck, head and face, may or may not get a migraine. But if you combine A and B, A, B, and C, and on and on and on, then they add up to your migraine. So then it's a matter of reducing or eliminating as many of those factors that would make up your particular migraines too. So with each person, there are similarities to other people who have migraines, and there are differences. And so instead of making it a blanket thing, we do it individually for each person where you can start to see the cause and effect, and then you can do something about it.
So what I hear you saying is everybody has their own combination. So,
Exactly.
wow, okay. So when people come to you, who comes to you? I mean, is it word of mouth now? They go, oh, I got a headache, go see Jan? Is
I hope so.
That's the goal. So, and do you just go, okay, I'm touching you? But you really have to ferret out it's a whole comprehensive process.
Well, first of all, people who come to see me have usually been to a doctor, a neurologist, pain clinic, alternative and complementary practitioners, an osteopath, acupuncturist, chiropractor, massage therapist. I mean, they've been to a lot of practitioners and explored a lot, and they've had a diagnosis. So I don't diagnose. I'm not a medical practitioner.
That's good to know.
So that's up to the doctors and the neurologists. So what I do is, for sure, they have a migraine or they have headache, and they're, it's not a more serious cause. So that is the first thing.
Good.
And so, but all the people that come to me have usually had them for a long time. They might hear about me from their neurologist, from my website or my blog, some online presences. I'm also a graduate of Strozzi Institute in somatic coaching, so I'm an associate there. And
we have
so
no
people might
time to
find
talk
me
about somatic, and we were going to.
another time. So people might find me in that way as well.
Okay. Well, in the 1.5 minutes that we have left, let me tell you where you can find this lady. She's got a couple websites, but one that I know of is janmundolifework.com.
Actually,
see, I told you you'd have to fix it. Mundolifework.
Mundo Lifework. Yes, MUNDOLIFEWORK.com.
Yes, .com. And then also the Strozzi, you said that you're there
I'm
also.
an associate at Strozzi Institute,
Okay.
STROZZI.
You can find her, I
Institute.
bet, if you put in search headache, you'll find this lady.
Right, or the
She's in a-
headachecoach.wordpress.com.
Okay. And this
My
will
blog.
take the blog. She's in a book, which is called
Being Human at Work.
Being Human
edited
at
by
Work.
Richard Strozzi Heckler. That has different approaches to somatics.
Yes, and that she's chapter 20. And
I'm writing a book.
And that's
that
it.
will be out
It's
next
coming
year.
out 2013. So what you could do, actually, if you want to find out more about or at least get on her mailing list so you can know when she has a new blog coming out, go to, I think the best place is mundolifework.com, right? And you can find her and find out what's new, because obviously you're staying in the field and innovating every day, right? And working it out. And she also, I understand, does this in group. And it can be done on the phone, but she does face-to-face, which obviously if you want her to feel your head, is going to be easier. So I've got to thank you. This is so much information, and we're so lucky to have you on here to get some of it. And we'll have to have you back in part 2, I guess, and see what you're learning. But thank you so much for being our guest
Laurie.
tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.